Hello and welcome to another SwansCast match preview. And this week, obviously, we take on Preston at home. No, it's not at home. It's away. Getting used to too many games at home. We're at home on Tuesday against Bournemouth. That's what it is. But I'm joined by Ollie Hargreaves from the Butterfly podcast. That's correct, yeah?
That's correct, yeah. The Butterfly podcast, yeah.
I told you I'd have to glance over. I was going to say it and then I forgot. But yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself there, you said there's a bit of a story behind your name as well. So I'd be interested to hear.
Yeah, so obviously I'm Ollie from the Butterfly podcast. It's a podcast that we run as fans. Myself and Jack, who's the co-host, and then obviously we've got a couple of other lads that come on now and then. What it is the name of the podcast, Butterfly podcast, is mainly revolving around the food that you'll probably only get in Preston and a 5-mile radius outside of Preston. Pretty much it's cholesterol in a pie. It's butter, potato and onion. Then that's pretty much it. So it may sound bland, but if you whack some gravy and brown sauce on, if you're coming up to Deepdale, I promise you it'll be a taste sensation. But
I was going to say, anyone that's going up for an away day this weekend, maybe that's what you need to be trying to get down you for dinner. Yeah,
you need to give it a go.
The footy's grand. Did he sell it in the stadium, or was it just
they do sell it in the stadium? Food? But I mean, some people obviously it's a bit bland without any gravy or brown sauce. So, I mean, it's whatever's people's taste buds. I mean, a couple of other podcasts have come up and tried the Butterfly podcast, and they've given quite high ratings. So, yeah, they'll sell it in the stand. They sell it in the stadium. So. We don't have the best match scram. I see like Barnsley, they're chucking over like these kebab wraps, and we're here with
they'll talk to us about ours. Awful. Yeah,
but yeah, you got to try a butter pie if you come up.
I think ours is basically burnt or overinflated second-rate McDonald's. So yeah, it sounds
the same to be fair.
There's nothing special. It's not like you see on football, on Twitter sometimes you get these clubs, like you said, the kebabs, or they'll have this banging pie, or they'll have whatever, loaded fries. It's just basic stuff at the Swans, and it's not the best, and
it's not nice,
prices are not great. But there we go. Anyone that is heading up to Preston this weekend, if you are watching this right now, come back to the video and try one of these butter pies and let us know your rating out of 10. Is this something that we should potentially bring to Wales? We could import the food. Is it worth it? Is it gonna replace the curry sauce and chips or whatever people like to think is a local?
I don't think it'd replace a curry sauce and chips because that is top tier. But it's something that you probably won't get anywhere else in the country. I don't think any other places sell it, so you might as well give it a try while you're up here. I'm not sure how many Swans fans go.
I'm sure there'll be a few. Preston. I would try come myself, but I'm working, unfortunately, so it's not going to be happening for me. I mean, I said curry sauce and chips. I don't actually know if that's... I was led to believe that's a Welsh thing, but I didn't think it was. And then also corned beef pasties as well. Is that a thing where around by you?
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
To be fair, the corned beef pasties probably not so much, but obviously curried and chips, you can get them everywhere in every chippy in the land.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But corned beef pasty, then apparently that's a Welsh thing. News to me. I thought it was just a basic pasty, but there we go. Anyway, that's enough about food. We'll actually get started with the content. So, just where can we find you on Twitter? Sorry,
so it's at the Butterpie Pod on Twitter and the Butterpie Podcast on Instagram as well.
Brilliant. And this is probably why I got confused with the home and away. I just literally before we started was watching highlights of the last game, just because I remember that it got a bit spicy. So before we get into the new one, just want to get your thoughts. Do you think that's going to carry on over at all into this next fixture?
It did get a bit spicy. I mean, back then, I'm not sure whenabouts was it. Do you remember when the game was?
It was near the end of the season, wasn't it? It was.
And I think during the end of the season,
2 games left, I think.
Yeah, we kind of faded away, and there was not really much to grasp onto, really, as a fan. I think this was like we needed to come down to Hughes to be able to get a win, so it was a massive grudge match for us to keep our playoff hopes alive. So obviously, tensions are quite high, and then anything to spark off a little scrap between Joe Allen and Ryan Lowe. It is. I mean, it was a spark enough, and I don't think there'll be too much kicking off. I mean, there might be if Ryan Lowe and Joe Allen get it on again and have a little WWE match on the sidelines, but I don't think it'll be as Cajun as. I don't think both sides will be as naive as they are in the tackles that they're making.
No.
Coming into the fourth game of the season, where we're seemingly both doing all right, and we're just needing to carry on the momentum.
Yeah. Well, obviously Russell Martin and his team are gone as well now, so that might have an impact. It's a whole new coaching setup at Swansea. Joe Allen's still there. I can't see him starting. Maybe he'll come off the bench, but I'd imagine it will be a little bit, water under the bridge, maybe, and we'll move on. But it'll be interesting. We'll see if Joe Allen comes on and puts a big tackle in, and see what happens after that. But yeah, maybe it'll make it a little bit interesting if it's a 0-0 or something. Going forward then, looking at Preston then, because that's the focus of this video. Obviously, people who have watched the series so far will know that the idea here is to get an insight in the opposition. And this week, obviously, is Preston. So you're here to kind of tell all the Swans fans that might not have that much knowledge about the rest of the clubs in the league, a little bit of inside information to sort of give them an idea of the opposition ahead of playing them. Because it's all well and good looking at the league table and getting a perception of, okay, maybe it's going to be a tough game, but maybe we can learn a little bit more from yourselves. So aside from transfers, because we'll get onto that in a second,
yes,
has there been any big changes at your club over the summer behind the scenes?
Well, to be fair, there's been a couple of changes. I know we'll talk about transfers, but there's been a couple of changes in the backroom staff. Paul Gallagher ended up leaving and going to Stoke to join Alex Neil. So we did end up bringing in two new coaches who have worked with Ryan Lowe before. Obviously, we've still got Mike Marsh there, who you might know from obviously Swansea days. So, yeah, there's been a couple of changes in the backroom staff, and I think obviously also, I know you did mention transfers, but the fact that Ryan Lowe's been able to bring in some more of his players to build the squad that he kind of wants has allowed him to be a bit less conservative than he has been in previous seasons.
Well, the next question is about transfers. If you want to just elaborate on them, then go for it.
I'll intertwine it in. Pretty much the signings that he's brought in has allowed him to be less conservative, because obviously when he's come from Plymouth, he's played this 3-5-2 attack flowing football where he's not solely focused on defending too much. Obviously, you've come up to the Championship; it's a completely different squad, and we've had to go quite conservative, as you've probably seen last season, the start of the season where we went 7 games with 0-0 and 1-0, where it was absolutely bonkers. So I think the changes has allowed us to open up a bit more and play a bit more of this brand that Ryan Lowe keeps banging on about, a brand of football that's exciting and good to watch on the eye. What I would say about the first couple of games of the season, the wins may have not been the best on the eye, but you've got the job done. Yeah. So, I don't think anyone can complain, if the football on shows not, as you say, Russell Martin, Tiki Taka, playing around the back. If you get the 3 points, there's not much you can go home and complain about. So, yeah, I mean, adding into the transfers that you just mentioned, we brought in a couple of players of Championship quality. Brought in Will Keane, who scored 2 in 3 in the Championship this season. We brought in Dwayne Holmes for a bit of added oomph into midfield off the bench, a bit of squad depth. Calvin Ramsey, who's now injured, he's out for about 6 to 8 weeks on loan. And then obviously we brought in Jack Watmore, Mads Frokke Jensen, who is my new shining Danish prince. And I feel like I'm missing someone out. Leighton Stewart as well, but obviously he's not been fit as of yet, and I believe that is it.
Sounds good. Sounds like perhaps a different Preston to the one that we might have seen then.
It is. Yeah, season. It is.
And to be fair, the form that you've displayed so far, you're doing quite well by all accounts.
Yeah, it's been quite a surprising start to the season, to be fair, Luke, because I don't think any Preston fan expected, Bristol City away that they were hyped up to massive to all ends because they were beating teams like 7-0 in pre-season, like without lifting a finger.
Well,
So,
Newport County.
well, you see Newport County and Oxford, who've obviously doing well in League One, to
Yeah.
even start slamming them 6-7-0, you've got to look at, P&E where we're drawing against Barrow and losing against Stockport County. So it was a bit like this might end a bit silly, but getting a draw against Bristol City away is not the worst result in the world. And then obviously beating Sunderland at home is a fantastic result because they were up in the playoffs last season. And then going away to Sheffield Wednesday and getting the job done. So,
Yeah.
To be fair, if you said, would you take 7 points out of 9 from your first 3 games of the season, I'd snap your hand off, Luke.
No, I don't blame you. I'd be exactly the same. And to be fair, we lost to Oxford in pre-season, so we can't really say anything. So they beat us 1-0, and we were home as well, I think. So not. I know they were home, but still not the best result. So going into the season, Swans have got 2 points. We're sitting in 18th. Preston, early days, but you're in 6th position on 7 points.
Yeah.
Only dropped 2. You haven't lost a game. I think that's quite a strong performance. So for the Swans coming up this weekend, maybe a very tricky game. We have a new management team, a new style of play, not quite necessarily clicked in yet. So it is early days, and we are seeing bits of that come through. But also, you can see that it is a work in progress, and I guess that makes the results hard to come by. So for you, I guess that's somewhere to exploit. So looking at that, then, what style of play do you expect to see from Preston going into this game? You're saying it might be a little bit different to previous. So it'd be interesting to hear what we can look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, so the way that we've kind of been playing this season is more so as a 3-4-3. Obviously, allowing Will Keane as a central striker. There's been like this massive debacle about us signing Tom Cannon on loan again. It's been going on for longer than I can remember, and it's just taking tedious amount of times. But for now, we realistically only have one fit striker in Will Keane. So we're managing to play one up top in a 3-4-3, which is what I'd guess we're going to stick with because it's been working. So Will Keane as a focal point is a number 9, and then we'll have Alan Brown, who's usually an 8, just playing off him, and then a bit to the right you've got Mads Frocke Jensen, who's another 10 really, who can verge off to the left. So you've got 2 kind of like running 10s that can, kind of like stretch the play a bit. You've then got obviously 2 holding midfielders in, I'm guessing it's going to be Ali McCann and because Ali McCann's back. I'm trying to think. Ali McCann and potentially Ryan Ledson. So someone to keep the midfield nice and steady and make sure, you avoid the transitions back if Swans win the ball back and hit us on the counter-attack. That's an absolute no-go that we're wanting to do. But one to look out for, I would say, Luke, is a 17-year-old left wing-back, Kean Best. He hasn't started the Championship game or senior football since the start of the season, but Robbie Brady got injured and we didn't recruit a left wing back, so we kind of chucked him into the deep end without any armbands, is the phrase that I'm using. But he's done really well. Defensively, he's still a bit and ahhing because he's 17. Let's not beat around the bush. So he has to be protected. But my gosh, you should see his crossing and dead ball. It's like the goal we scored against Sheffield Wednesday, the dead ball. He's whipped it in from about 40 yards, inch perfect onto Liam Lindsay's head. It is baffling, but obviously he's so raw to what he is. Anything can really happen. So it could be where Swans try to exploit. I'd probably expect so, because if you see a 17-year-old lad, and you play with wingers, is Ginnelly fit?
Yeah, he's fit now. He hasn't started in the league yet, though. So, I mean, coming on to that, though, with the Perot speculation that's come out the last few days, maybe Perot's not going to start, which gives a position up for grabs up front, which might be Ginnelly or Cullen or We've got a new Ukrainian striker. I can't say his name properly yet, so I'm not going to say it.
What about Jerry Yates? Is he in?
Well, he'll start as well. We played 2 up top, so he'll be there.
I'm sure he'll get a good reception.
Yeah, it'll be Yates and another. What is it? Not a fan of Yates up your way?
Ex-Blackpool player. He will not get a good reception whatsoever, Luke.
That's fair. I didn't make the link, but now that's understandable.
He'll get booed to high heaven. But Jerry. To be fair to Jerry Yates, he's probably one of those players who lives off that kind of pressure and likes to give a bit back. So could work in your favour in that retrospect. But
he's scored 2 so far. So
I'd expect Swans to be trying to exploit the wide areas coming up against North End. But I think it's going to be a very open game, to be fair, Luke. I think it could go either way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're talking about that key and best. Sounds quite scary from set pieces and perhaps in an attacking sense, but maybe that's where the opportunities would lie for us then when we are attacking, you'd say.
Yeah, it needs to be protected. We do have Andrew Hughes at left centre-back. He's been converted from a left-back, so it kind of gives him a bit of protection. But yeah, you just got to see what he's done. I mean, he had a test against Jack Clark and Patrick Roberts. He did all right, to be fair. He did end up giving away the penalty where he was tugging Jack Clark's shirt, but overall he did all right. To conserve what I would say probably 2 of the best wingers in the league in Roberts and Clark, who were overtwining and switching. So, to be fair, I'd probably expect Michael Duff to have a look at that and think, let's give it a go.
Maybe it will be Ginnelly that comes in then, and if he's playing down the left side, he'll probably be up against Ashby as well as our right wing back, who will probably push on quite forward. So he's been okay. He's been steady. He's come with a big reputation from Newcastle, but maybe hasn't been all the glitz and glamour yet. But he did get an assist last week. He's got a good cross in him as well. So if you can beat him and get into an attacking position to put that cross in, that's all that's going to matter, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked quite a bit there. I was going to ask for the formation lineup and key players, but you kind of touched on all of it, so that's great.
Apologies.
That is. No. It's, they're just prompts at the end of the day. If you've got it all out there, you've got it all out there. But what I was going to ask is then, from a Swansea perspective, what players from our side worry yourself as a Preston fan?
I would have said Piro, but I mean, obviously, he might not be starting.
Yeah.
I do always look at that because Jerry Yates always has a good game against North End. He always seems to either grab a goal or manage to get an assist. Like even when we played Blackpool last season at home, we were absolutely all over him, and he still managed to get on the score sheet. So he's just one of those players that always managed to nab a goal against North End. As I mentioned, Josh Ginnelly, obviously we had him for a couple of seasons. He didn't really get a chance at North End, but you can tell with his speed and dribbling and obviously more confidence getting into him. I thought it was a brilliant signing for you, obviously coming down from Hearts. So yeah, as I mentioned, if Ginnelly's either playing on either wings, running against, Keane Best, a 17-year-old who's done fantastically, or even Brad Potts on the other side, who's not notoriously a right wing back. He's more of a central midfielder that's been converted there. So, you've realistically got to hope that they're on top of their games. And if you got any wingers on form, Luke, then it could be a good day for Swans.
We don't really use wingers. We use the wing backs, and then like Ginnelly is not even only when we've converted our system to a 4 at the back. If we're maybe chasing a game, he's gone out the wing. Otherwise, he's kind of playing up top as a striker, but maybe he'll stretch out wide while the other one stays more central sometimes. It's quite fluid, but it's not out and out wingers usually from the off, which maybe that's something that you want to hear. Yeah, but maybe Duff will spring a surprise now with Pirou not probably going to play. Maybe he'll stick Yates up top in his own and try and change it up a bit. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so before we finish then, it's been quite a good chat, but I always ask this question at the end just to kind of similar to what we started off talking about, really, but the other form of consumption. So what is your favourite pint to have at a stadium?
Favourite pint of a stadium? I tell you what, I'm not really a lager guy, Luke.
It doesn't have to be alcoholic; it could be anything.
I am a cider bloke.
Same.
So I do like cider. What I have loved, it was Barnsley away, and they did Summersby on draft, and it was sensational.
Depends where you go, doesn't it? Like, half the stadiums don't even give you cider.
99% of the time, it's either Thatcher's or it's Strongbow. But I mean, if there's Summersby on draft or any other, nice tipple, then it is. But notoriously, it's probably going to be a Thatcher's. That's the majority that you get at most football stadiums, especially down near yourselves. I think. What does Swans have on tap?
It's a Stowford Press. I don't know if it's on tap.
See, that's all right, Stowford Press. It's not too bad, but Strongbow just gets so repetitive because it's just the bog standard Foster's, Strongbow, Carling.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it was Stowford Press. They had the bottles in the fridge. It depends what bar you go in. Because when I went into which isn't in the away end, like, I don't know what they sell in the away end, but they've got like a more premium. It's just a bar in one of the stands, and they have more variety there because they've got an actual bar rather than just the like concourse stands. And they had, I can't remember what it was called now. There's one cider there I had the other day that I've never seen before, but it was decent. Yeah. But I've been to stadiums that don't have anything, and that irritates me.
Yeah. I think because we've got a new, I'm not sure what to do. They do, like, we've not got, because we've gone from the old people who used to obviously produce the food and drinks.
Yeah.
And hospitality, that's what I should say.
Yeah.
So we've got a new hospitality partner in Sodexo Live. So they've managed to change up loads. I mean, the prices have gone up a tiny bit, but, we've got so much. I can't even remember what we have, but my mate's been into the new fan zone. He said there's some great tipples in there. So, I mean, he's kind of expensive comparing against what it was last season. So, obviously, if Swansea coming up, I would follow the P&E police who tweet out the pubs for them to go to. There is, well, once you get off the train, I mean, unless you're driving, which I mean, it's quite a long trek. If you get in the train, obviously you're right off into the city centre. There's a lovely couple of bars there that'll do good tipples. I mean, there's a couple of spoons if that tickles your fancy either. But yeah, it's got a good variety here, Preston. But yeah, going to the stadium, you may pay a bit more, but to be fair, it looks like it's getting better with the hospitality in the concourses with the new partner.
I think ours is quite expensive anyway, so probably won't be too similar prices in the stadium. But everyone loves to wear the spoons before the match, don't they? So I'm sure that will help a lot of people out. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me again, Ollie. Been really insightful in regards to Preston. I'm quite nervous, perhaps, going into this game. I think it's another tricky one. We really need to get our first win on the ball, and it's not an easy game to try and target that. But we'll see what happens. Maybe you can give us a prediction about where you think this is going to finish.
We'll go with 2-1 North End.
Do you know what? I'd probably say that's fair. And I'm going to agree.
2-1 North End, and Jerry hates to get on the scoreline because he just always does.
Well, I think, a couple more games and we'll start firing proper, especially when the transfer window finishes, because quite a bit of speculation around a few players that might disrupt the team for this weekend now, with Nathan Wood also. Russell Martin just doing his best to destabilise us at the moment, I think. Destabilise us. But we'll see what happens, and good luck for the rest of the season after the weekend. If you want to remind everyone where they can find your content.
Yeah, so it's at the Butterpie Pod on Twitter, the Butterpie Podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you like to listen to. In case, obviously, we'll be doing not a preview, but obviously, what is it? Where we do a reaction to obviously the Swans game. So who knows, if Swansea fans want to hear a little bit of bitterness if we end up getting beats, then I'm sure they can tune in.
Probably the only time they'll tune in is when they
I'm sure the alternative, if North End win, I mean, if North End win, I guarantee you no SwansCast listeners are going to come over to the Butterpie Podcast. But at Ollie Hargreaves on Twitter as well. also for a bit of bitterness if we end up getting beat. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and maybe we'll speak to you again later in the season. But yeah,
Thank you.
catch you in a bit.